Namaskar. Welcome to the ninth episode of the Ultimate Meditation Podcast. In this episode, let us understand the most fearful aspect of life death. What does it mean to die? Is there a life after death? And most importantly, how to overcome the very fear of death in the first place and live fully. So, without any further delay, let's dive head on into this topic in detail in this episode. I recommend switching the subtitles on for a better experience and clear understanding. The structure and content of this podcast is kept as simple, meaningful, and relatable as possible. You may pause and replay any part of this podcast as you will. Fear of death is the most common fear for all living beings, but it also happens to be the strongest fear of all kinds. For the reason that death is viewed as the permanent end of life. Death is believed to separate us from our living identity, family, friends, wealth, power, and status that we have toiled for and gathered over a long period of lifetime. Such beliefs stem from the knowledge that I am this body. This is our unconscious mind thinking. However, in contrast to this, when we consciously observe this fear of death long enough, whenever it hits us, we will come to realize that the fear loses its grip on our being. We become free from the fear of death. Thus, all in all, fear of death is an unconscious mind produced emotion. Still, you may say, but we do die eventually. Well, to our unconscious mind, which has no awareness of the source of life, it appears that when a living being dies, it is the end all situation. But this is far from the truth. When the body dies, it is akin to changing clothes. This analogy is best described in the Bhagavad Gita, the most beloved holy scripture in India. Just as a person casts off worn out clothes and puts on other that are new, even so does the embodied soul cast off worn out bodies and take on others that are new. To perceive oneself as mortal body is an illusion. This illusion of separation is a creation of the mind. The soul or Atma does not die. It remains the same throughout. All bodily forms it takes on are images on the screen of soul. It simply takes on new identities one after another till it becomes wise enough to break free from this continuum of births and deaths. However, one cannot escape from the body, nor one has to. The body is a vehicle through which one is able to recognize the consciousness and dissolve one's karmic cycles. One's true nature is concealed within this body, not outside it. Thus, the body is still the only point of access to it. One of the most powerful spiritual practices is to meditate deeply on the mortality of our body. This is referred to as die before you die. Imagine or pretend how the body behaves when it is dead. No body movement, no breathing. Lay still for as long as you can and observe deeply what happens now. Then a moment comes when all mind forms or thoughts also die. Yet you are still there as divine consciousness, pure being. Nothing that was real ever died, only names, forms, and illusions. Then does it not make total sense to strive to hold on to the real self consciously and die before you die? That is, cast off what's transient and allow your inner consciousness to shine forever. Practicing non-attachment to the worldly pleasure such as power, wealth and relations is the key to fulfilling our divine purpose of birth in a body form. This does not mean that we distance ourselves from our duties and close relations this very instant, but to be present and act without getting attached to our positions, things, and people. The sense of I am the doer fades away, and one can perform all actions and have meaningful engagement with people without any entitlement or doership. This is how one frees oneself from the chains of karma and can steadily remain absorbed in the soul consciousness. And when that happens, there is no distinction between birth and death. And with this wisdom, the fear of death also goes away. Lao Tzu, the famous ancient Chinese philosopher, once said, "The wise man does not fear death, for he knows that life and death are one." If you wish to seek further clarity on any part of this podcast or should you have any other questions, please feel free to write to me in the comment box below. I will be happy to respond. You can also book a 10 minutes one-on-one free consultation with me. Booking longer session is also possible. The information about the form for booking consultation is given in the description box below. For a healthy real-time interaction, I run live Q&A sessions fortnightly on YouTube. The date and time for the same will be announced on my channel's post. I will see you next week with another episode. Till then, please take good care. Goodbye. Namaskar.